Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bazeleel, and I'm going to be going over the closed beta patch notes number 10 for Dawngate. The first thing on the patch notes is the ping wheel. The ping wheel can be accessed by holding down any of the ping keys, Control Alt V or G, and left clicking, dragging the mouse in a desired direction. The shaper changes and tuning follows as such. Now we do have some developer notes, so let's get right into those. This has to do with movement speed changes. I quote, "On movement speed changes, we've updated the base movement speed of the different archetypes to have a larger disparity between the slowest and fastest archetypes in order to more accurately support their intended gameplay. Ranged carries and ranged mages, for example, are intended to have to be careful with their positioning to counterbalance the fact that they can deal quite a bit of damage from a safe distance. As a result, the movement speed of these archetypes has been reduced. Similarly, the movement speed of the archetypes who greatly expose themselves in order to deal damage, such as melee carries, has been increased. On tank haste ability ratio, all tanks were scaling a little too well with haste across the board. We have slightly reduced the amount of CDR tanks get from haste to bring their power curve more in line with other archetypes." So basically what they're doing is they're really kind of giving classes a little bit better diversity, if you will. I really enjoy this. I think that this is going to really kind of take that game play. I don't want to say the whole game. I think it'll take gameplay. It's a little bit higher level there. That way we're not kind of all running in the same shoes, if you were. Now let's move on to the shapers themselves. Starting off with the Marith, the base movement speed has been reduced to 380 down from 385. The Desecrator has quite a few changes. The haste ratio on the Desecrator's abilities has been reduced to 0.5 down from 0.6. Forgotten Tombs, which is the Q ability, the base damage of this ability has been reduced to 55, 95, 135, 175, 215, down from 60, 105, 150, 195, and 335. The base damage of the first gravestone has been reduced to 90, 140, 190, 240, 290, down from 95, 150, 205, 260, and 315. So quite a large kind of nerf on his Q ability, which is going to be Forgotten Tombs once again. So that's going to kind of play an interesting role there. We'll see how that plays out in the this coming weekend here. Chilling Presence, which is his W, has been changed as well. The slow duration of this ability has been reduced to 2 seconds, down from 3 seconds. Also, the tooltip of this ability has been updated to specify that the silence and extra damage ability only apply to the primary target, and thus do not get propagated by the item fate. Dibs' Q Nightmare has been changed a little bit as well. The base damage of this ability has been reduced to 60, 105, 150, 195, and 240, down from 70, 120, 170, 220, and 270. Fenmore's base movement speed has been reduced to 380, down from 385. Freya's base movement speed has also been increased to 400, up from 395. The haste ratio of all Kale's abilities has been reduced to 0.5, down from 0.6. Michaela's base movement speed has been reduced to 370, down from 385. The item Fate now affects Moya's Shock and Recharge abilities a little bit differently. Shock. The slow that this ability applies now affects all targets hit by the item Fate's additional projectiles. Recharge. The healing granted by this ability will now apply from all targets hit by the item Fate's additional projectiles. Nisa's changes are a little different as well. The base movement speed has been reduced to 370, down from 385. Final Flight, which is her R ability, the base damage of this ability has been reduced to 125, 225, and 325 per hit, down from 150, 250, and 350. Reyna, the haste ratio of all Reyna's abilities has been reduced to 0.5, down from 0.6. Shockwave, which is her E ability, the base damage of this ability has been reduced to 50, 90, 130, 170, 210, down from 60, 100, 140, 180, 220. Varen's base movement speed has been reduced to 370, down from 385. The only change to Zuri is that her recommended items have been updated. Moving on to spells. Now, there is a developer note here. While Blitz has been an excellent tool for melee shepherds? What's a shepherd? I didn't know there were shepherds in this game. Hey guys, this just in, we're going to have shepherds in the game. It's going to be a really cool feature where you can herd sheep and they'll explode, just like in Warcraft 3. If you guys remember the sheep game. Let's try that again. While Blitz has been an excellent tool for melee shapers trying to close in or chase, range shapers are currently a little too effective with it due to their inherently high level of safety. Reducing the immunity duration for range shapers will still allow them to block incoming disables with the Clutch Blitz activation, but limit their ability to make guaranteed escapes or unstoppable defenses. Blitz. The crowd control immunity has been adjusted to differentiate between ranged and melee shapers. Melee shapers are now immune for 4 seconds, while ranged shapers are only immune for 2 seconds. Stagger. The max distance slow duration has been reduced to 2.5 seconds, down from 3 seconds. Tailwind. The visual effects of this spell have been updated. Fate now specifies that it does not propagate effects that are listed as applying to only the primary target. Resonance, which is a perks and or loadouts, has been changed to the following. The base damage of this loadout's passive has been reduced to 5 to 14 based on level per stack, down from 5 to 18 based on level per stack. The power ratio of this loadout's passive has been reduced to 0.03 per stack, down from 0.075 per stack. This loadout's passive, Resonance, now only applies to your primary target. The roles have been changed around a little bit as well. There is a developer note, so let's go ahead and read that. The change we made to Predator last week was to cause the role to correctly scale with the target's kill streak or death streak modified bonus. Since assists are inherently worth less than kills, this resulted in changing and reducing the Predator reward from assists in 2 ways. The first is resulting in the role getting a lower than intended reward from assists. The role will now provide a larger bonus from assists rather than from kills to offset this, while still providing less total Vim from assists. Rather than when the role provided a static bonus, it should now be significantly more desirable to get an assist as Predator. So in conclusion with the developer note, the change to Predator is as follows. The bonus Vim and experience gained from scoring an assist on an enemy shaper has been increased to 180% of the normal value, up from 135% of normal value. The bonus Vim and experience gain from killing an enemy shaper remains at 135%. Spirit Well changes are next, and I think this is going to be a huge impact into the mid and late game. The way the developer note is worded is a bit confusing, so I'm not going to read it. Basically what it boils down to is the longer the enemy has a Spirit Well captured, the larger the bounty will increase when you actually recapture it. So with that being said, if they have a Spirit Well capture the entire game and you capture it, say 20 or 30 minutes into the game, you're going to get a lot more Vim for the capture rather than capturing it at 10 or 20 minutes. Last but certainly not least is the general changes to the game. It's a pretty simple one, so let's get into it. Players on a death streak who get an assist will now have their death streak progress reversed by 1 death instead of resetting their death streak progress entirely. That's a mouthful. Players who get a kill still reset their death streak entirely. This movement speed change is actually really, really good. I think it's going to allow the game to go really, really far and really just kind of allow the support players like myself to not be ganked as much, and I think that we're going to see some little bit more role diversity with the Predator change as well. Blitz being changed a little bit now is going to be really, really helpful as well. Now, I'm actually curious to see how that's going to affect support, such as Dibs and Zuri, since they are both kind of a more support role. They do have some good offensive spells, but they are definitely considered a support role there. So with us only having 2 seconds of immunity instead of 4, it'll be interesting to see how the meta kind of changes a little bit and what type of Shaper spells we actually get. Now, with the movement speed changes themselves, I think that we're going to need a lot more tweaking than just the few that have been changed. But, this is going to be a beta progress, so I think that we will definitely see more Shapers changed in the future, and we might even see Shapers reverted back to what they originally were. I don't think that we're going to see a drastic change as far as a Shaper getting, an extra 50 movement speed or something like that. I think we're going to see what we've been seeing, 15 to 5 changes for the movement speed there. But for the most part, I think that the Shapers that are going to kind of, benefit this the most, I really do think are going to be the support players. Mainly because it'll allow them to really just not get ganked as much and not be scared to kind of push out of that lane thinking, okay, there could be a Fenmore right next to me in the brush somewhere or something, and he just kind of unloads on me and I'm dead. So I think the movement speed is going to kind of play that key factor because the game doesn't have boots like your traditional MOBA, so it has the haste ability or attribute, I should say, and that obviously is going to increase your movement speed. So I think that haste is going to become a kind of needed item for your typical classes. I think that they're trying to make it like boots instead of just calling it boots, because every MOBA's done that, and I think it's just kind of been used a little bit too much. So who knows? Maybe that's not their goal, but that's just kind of how I see it. Now, with the changes to Blitz and with the changes to a couple of the other Now, with the changes to Blitz, Stagger, and a couple of the other items and the Shaper spells and also the loadouts, I think we're going to see a pretty interesting meta shift. Not like super drastic. I mean, there's only very few Shapers to really kind of pick from. But I think we're going to see, with the haste being nerfed a little bit on the tanks, and just the way that Blitz now interacts with range Shapers instead of everyone getting a 4-second crowd control immunity, I think that's going to play a huge role in which Shapers are picked and what kind of Shaper spells you're going to pick. I really do think that we're going to see Blink used a lot more now because Blitz is not going to be as effective on ranged Shapers. Now, 2 seconds of CC immunity is still pretty a big deal. The one thing that I really am going to kind of watch is how the Predator change is going to kind of affect things, because you normally see a lot of Shapers still taking the Tactician, which is just such a powerful role. But with the Predator change and it just being a little bit more powerful now and getting some better gold, I think that that's going to be a role to kind of look for, and kind of depending on what Shaper you actually grab. So I think we're going to see some really cool things in this weekend and in the next couple weekends. The Spirit Well change is really kind of going to be really interesting. Again, when I first read it, it was really confusing, and the Dawn Source guys and myself were just kind of talking about it and going, okay, what does this actually mean? How is this actually going to affect the game? And we kind of came to the conclusion that it's gonna really kind of benefit the game as a whole, mainly because the mid and late game is just really boring. I mean, you just kind of push down each other's lane, farm a little bit, do the same thing. I mean, it's kind of like League of Legends without anything else. I mean, for the most part, I'm a Dota 2 player, for those wondering. And League of Legends, for me, just is not enjoyable. I hate the brush mechanic. I don't like farming for 95 minutes. That's boring to me. So I think what the Spirit Well change will do is really kind of cut down on that farming and really make protecting your Spirit Well maybe not as important early game or late game. Maybe you want them to have the Spirit Well for 20 minutes and just go, hey, you know what? They capped our close spirit ball point. Let's go grab it real quick and get, 300 Vim or however the exchange rate's going to actually be. So I think that we are going to see some pretty drastic changes to how the mid and late game go, especially with these other new changes to the Shaper spells as well as some of the items, and movement speed as well. Some of the haste changes, and I think we're going in the right direction. Waystone Games, you guys doing a really really good job. So kind of keep up the good work. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of whatever we're calling the series, I guess. So yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. I apologize I didn't have any good footage. I kind of forgot to record some, so that's my bad. I'm doing some spotlight videos, working on those as well, and also check out my other stuff for Guild Wars 2 and a couple other stuff. So anyway, guys, as always, God bless. Have a safe and pleasant journey to wherever you guys are going. Take care.